This is Barry Zalma, Zalma on Insurance. I am an attorney who has retired from the practice of law and now spend my time as an insurance claims consultant and expert witness, an author and producer of these videos. Today will be less serious. Today I'm going to tell one of the stories from my book, Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, which I have written over the last 45 years. From real claims, real cases, where an insured has either attempted and succeeded in committing insurance fraud or has been defeated. This story is called The Tiffany Kid, and the names and places have been changed to protect the guilty. The insured grew up with his wealthy parents on the shores of San Francisco Bay in Marin County. He wanted for nothing that money could buy. He was tall, blond, blue-eyed, and handsome. Debutantes pulled their sister's hair for the chance to dance with him. Life was good, but dull. The insured tried drugs. The results disappointed him. He was brilliant, so college was no challenge. He felt he would die from the boredom. Nothing challenged his intelligence. He found the cure for his boredom one summer vacation from college. On a dare, he surreptitiously entered the home of a neighbor. He removed a single, solid brass and stained glass dragonfly lamp made by Louis Comfort Tiffany in the 1920s. From this single event, he found more excitement, a greater high than he had ever had with drugs. The flow of adrenaline was delicious. As he entered his neighbor's dwelling, he had found the excitement he wanted. He had finally found a way to relieve the boredom and lack of challenge in his life. He did not steal for profit. He stole for excitement. He did not need the lamp. He could have bought many similar lamps with the money in his trust fund. Like all addictions, burglary on a small scale continued. His burglaries occurred in Marin County and in the small college town where he went to school. His specialization in burglary was limited by Tiffany lamps and objects of art. He managed to amass a collection of considerable value. Burglary, however, was too easy. The challenge and the excitement of burglary had lost its glow. He needed a new challenge. He needed interaction. He needed to defeat another human being. Burglary, by definition, is a solitary activity. The solution to his boredom was insurance fraud. He would obtain a policy on the results of his efforts at burglary and then report them stolen. To obtain the policy, he first retained a fine arts appraiser to appraise the collection of Tiffany lamps he had gathered over the last 5 years of burglary. The results of the appraisal shocked him. He found that the lamps had a retail value of over $500,000. He used the appraisal to get a personal articles floater, a PAF policy of insurance, from a major surplus line insurer. He waited until the policy was ripe. Then, with his considerable expertise in burglary, the insured staged a burglary at his residence. He made claim to his insurer for the loss of all the scheduled Tiffany lamps he claimed were stolen, even though he'd already stored them in a public storage unit. When visited by the adjuster, the insured found the challenge that he had sought when burglary became a bore. Sitting in his living room across from an experienced investigator, he reveled in what he believed to be a battle of wits. Because of the amount involved, the insurer had retained the services of an independent adjuster and private investigator with more than 30 years' experience. The insured knew he would not have a simple task in front of him. He had expected the insurer to send their usual 22-year-old novice adjuster who came to adjust a fender bender claim 2 years before. The insured made certain that he was in absolute emotional control when the silver-haired adjuster placed his recorder between them and started taking a recorded statement about the loss. Since this was the first time for the insured, he did not know what to expect. He answered the questions posed to him glibly and with certainty, always looking the investigator directly in the eye. He kept complete physical control of his body. Neither his gestures nor physical appearance showed outward signs of nervousness or the flow of adrenaline that the interview caused him. His only difficulty came when the investigator asked for the ownership history of the Tiffany lamps. Obviously, the insured could not tell him that he had gained possession of the lamps by burglary. Rather, he advised the adjuster that he had received the lamps as a gift from his grandparents shortly before they died in a tragic automobile accident. There was no record of the transfer. There was no probate. There was no one alive who could verify the means by which he acquired the lamps. The adjuster could not verify the insured's acquisition of the lamps. The insured had read Dostoevsky's book, Crime and Punishment. He knew that the way to commit a perfect crime was to admit everything about his actions during the time of the commission of the crime except the crime itself. If there are no witnesses, neither the investigating police officer nor the investigating insurer had any leads. Disproving the statements made became impossible. The insured showed the investigator the point of entry, where he had broken out a small glass window in the rear door of the premises. It revealed easy entrance to the house. He showed the adjuster where the lamps had been. He explained how they had been carefully removed from the premises. He speculated that the thief was a collector or working for a collector. Nothing else but Tiffany lamps were stolen. He admitted that this was his first personal articles floater that scheduled the Tiffany lamps. He had a homeowner's policy, but never considered the lamps to be exceedingly valuable. The insured said that he had been reading an article in the New Yorker magazine in his dentist's office that said that stained glass bronze lamps made by Louis Comfort Tiffany had become the latest collector's craze. The article caused him to believe that the values of his Tiffany lamps were appreciating with considerable speed. He explained to the adjuster that because of the article, he retained the services of a fine arts appraiser. He needed to know the value of the gift made by his grandparents. He expressed shock and fear on learning their true value. He therefore immediately went out and bought a policy. He told the investigator he had no idea who might wish to burglarize him. He was basically a loner with few friends. None of his friends knew of the value of his collection. He was totally distraught by their loss, since they were the only ties to his dear departed grandparents. Near the end of the statement, the insured's eyes welled up with tears, and he had to ask for a short break to get control of himself. The investigator left the insured's premises with a feeling engendered by his 30 years of experience that there was something truly wrong with the claim. He was certain that the insured had not told him the truth. The facts of the acquisition of the lamps, the method by which the insured decided to buy a personal articles floater, and the tears all raised his suspicions. He did everything he could to find some facts to prove his suspicions. He checked public records and found that the insured had no criminal record, and the insured was never a party in a civil lawsuit. He owned his home and his own business. No motive for insurance fraud existed. The insured was wealthy. The investigator contacted a few friends that the insured advised him may have seen the Tiffany lamps. Each verified that the lamps were in the house. They had no information how the insured acquired the lamps. They reported that the insured had considerable wealth and would have no trouble in making such a purchase. The investigator, faced with no leads and nothing but a gut feeling there was something wrong with the claim, informed the insurer of his conclusion. The investigator recommended that the insurer issue a proof of loss for the amount of the policy and pay the claim. The insurer followed his advice. The claim was paid in full, and the insured had successfully completed the fraud. The insured found new meaning in his life. He thoroughly enjoyed the challenge of the interaction with an experienced investigator. The insured used the money he stole from the insurer to add to his collection of Tiffany lamps. Over the next 15 years since his first attempt, the insured perpetrated the same fraud on different insurers, waiting 3 years between each claimed loss. The delay, of course, so he could honestly report to the insurer when he applied for the new policy that he had incurred no losses within the last 3 years, as most applications requested he testify before acquiring the policy. Unlike the other stories in my book, Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, this one, like most insurance fraud, successfully separated an insurer from its money illegally. The insured received $500,000 or more for a burglary that did not occur, and he did it 4 times in a row without problem. The insurer, faced with nothing more than the gut feeling of the adjuster, was forced to pay what it knew or suspected to be a fraudulent claim. If it did not pay, the insurer knew it would find itself sued for the breach of the covenant of good faith and fair dealing. It might be required then to pay punitive and exemplary damages as well as the policy limits. The insurer, after the policy was issued, had no chance to defeat this fraud. Its chance came and went at the time it accepted the insured's application, without first investigating the insured and his Tiffany lamps. The insurer failed to protect itself by accepting the insurance without requiring the insured to establish his ownership and legitimate possession of the lamps. It also did not protect itself by requiring the insured to warrant before the issuance of the policy facts concerning the insured, the acquisition of the lamps, their ownership and value. The insurer failed to require the maintenance of appropriate security systems that would have made the faking of a burglary more difficult. A monitored central station alarm with contacts on all doors and windows and infrared detectors to detect motion throughout the dwelling, and that would record every entry and exit from the premises, would have made the fraud more difficult. Warranties and security requirements do not always stop an attempt to defraud. By not having the security requirements, the insurer made the crime easy for the insured. It almost deprived the insured of the challenge he wanted. Insurers, if they wish to keep frauds like that described here, must stop making the crime easy. Underwriters must understand that insureds do not always treat their insurers with utmost good faith. Risks must be looked at with skepticism. If fraud is to be defeated, insurers must make the crime more of a challenge. It is too easy. Honest insureds are tempted to commit fraud because it is so easy. 20 years after his first successful fraud, the insured presented an identical claim to an insurer whose adjuster knew the adjuster on the first claim as a person who had worked for Lloyd's of London in the past. The call asked who at Lloyd's the new adjuster could call about a loss of Tiffany lamps. The response was to ask if the loss was incurred by the insured by name. Records were pulled from storage and presented to the insured's lawyer and the insured, who immediately withdrew the claim. His last attempt was a failure, and he is due to try again shortly. Amazingly, each claim was for the loss of the same Tiffany lamps, and each claim but the last was paid. This video was adapted from my book, Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, and is a story called The Tiffany Kid, which was Chapter 8 in the book, which is available as a Kindle book and as a paperback from Amazon.com. If you found this video to be interesting, worthwhile, please convey it to your colleagues. It's free. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Rumble channel, and my blog so that you can be advised of future blog postings and videos. Thank you for your attention.